Howdy folks, I'm David Measle and today I'll be reviewing Laurence Coupe's book Kenneth Burke, From Myth to Ecology, published in 2013 by Parlor Press. There's a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. First of all, as a student interested in Burke's theory of myth, I found this book to be insightful and enlightening. Coupe has absolutely done his homework. I recommend this book to anyone who wants to understand the integral relationship between transcendental and secular literature in Burke's prose. Coupe covers the majority of Burke's extensive corpus in impressive detail. In this investigation, he follows the development of Burke's theory of myth as it evolves over the course of his career. In Chapter 1, Myth and Society, Coupe explores the relationship established by Burke between myth and the people who create and respond to it. That's us. He looks at Burke's answers to the question, what does myth do for humans? A fantastic highlight of this opening discussion is when Coupe draws out Burke's argument that while we know that myth developed in a world of orality, it is still used today, and more importantly, as Coupe indicates on pages 16 and 17, quote, Burke points out the evidence for the mythic imagination of modern thought, end quote. Next, Coupe rolls directly into Burke's examples of types of myth and how myth works in conjunction with the humans who utilize it. The focus in this discussion is on what Burke refers to as combat myth, by which Coupe introduces the reader to Burke's notion of primary and secondary orality and its relationship to the works of Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Burke discusses a secondary order of reality, which Coupe attributes to Coleridge's idea of the primary and secondary imaginations. This is, for me, one of the most relevant insights in Coupe's book. We cannot overlook Burke's insistence on ambiguity as it is situated within his theory of logology. In Chapter 3, Coupe argues that Burke couches all of human social behavior under the category ritual drama, and roots all of that ritual drama in myth. Certain rituals are performed, and the stories surrounding those rituals that imbue them with meaning are myths. In the assumption that there is a causal relationship between the ritual and attainment of its goal, the magic is in that attainment. The origin of both the rituals and the myth is the human. We could potentially venture further to say that the origin is perhaps with the logos. Now, there's a particularly interesting section in the latter half of Chapter 4 entitled The Cult of Comedy. Coupe highlights Burke's interest in comedy and its relationship to tragedy as a potential cure for all social disease. Coupe's insight into Burke's unique understanding and reverence for the Christian Bible, and specifically Genesis, is enlightening. However, I'm finding myself at a loss when trying to connect this section to the rest of the text. Coupe seems to assert that Burke seeks comedy as a healthy balancing factor working in conjunction with tragedy. But again, I'm at a loss without some examples of what exactly is meant by this. It is also curious that Coupe waits until the book's fifth and final chapter to introduce the issue of ecology into the discussion. Everything preceding this section of the book is concerned with myth, and here Coupe changes gears rather abruptly. However, this is not to say that the ecology argument is without its reward. In fact, it's just the opposite. As Isabel Gallimore notes in her review of Coupe's book, quote, it is worth pointing out that From Myth to Ecology is a second edition of Coupe's original Kenneth Burke on Myth and Introduction, 2005, but with no additional material, it may not quite live up to its greener retitling and repackaging. Its relevance to eco-criticism only becomes explicit toward the end of the book. However, this retitling allows Burke's writing to enter an eco-critical context and may inspire further study in doing so, end quote. So there's some explanation for that right there. So let me go ahead and Okay, so let's talk strengths and weaknesses. First of all, strengths. This book provides a nice collection of what may be Burke's most demonstrative quotes regarding his understanding of myth, what it is, and how it works. Also, this book introduces the reader to several minute details of Burke's theory that may have otherwise been overlooked, such as the stated relationship between his notion of the way and the Tao, which can be found on pages 147 and 148. Weaknesses. I would have wished the book longer. I mean this both as a great compliment and as another criticism regarding the second statement here. More discussion of the relationship established by Burke between myth and ecology would have helped to better flesh out the book's thesis. In conclusion, despite what I'm tempted to call a misnomer for a title, Laurence Coupe's Kenneth Burke From Myth to Ecology is a solid study tool for any of Burke's readers who wish to gain a greater perspective on his understanding of logology, myth, and across both, what it means to experience and to enact transcendence. Thank you.